Butterflies fill my spine, I feel myself getting hot again. Nerves rushing through my brain, yeah, they can't hear fire from the trees. You're standing by his side, red drops burning down your face. You're real close now, baby. Holy fuck, I feel it with you. I lose self-control. Now I found that you're not one to hear me now. You got me on my knees begging for your lady. And like a fool to stand around and let you blame me. And I'm riding in the sky to the heavens like an
Hi, welcome to the ring and all other sports. Tonight, I got a very special guest, promoter, author, Sheldon Goldberg.
Leo,
How are you?
it's been a long time, buddy.
Yeah, it's been a couple
Good
of
to
years.
be here. Yeah,
Excellent. We got a lot to cover. I got a lot of questions.
very good.
And if we get to the name game, I got a lot of great names.
Okay.
So Matt Calamari once says, he's a good promoter. I used to ref for NECW Wrestling. Good memories. Matt was a ref for you?
Yeah.
And now Joe Bruin. I did interviews for my talk show at the inaugural NECW event in August of 2000. Tell us what that entire day was like from your point of view, from arrival to setup, and any memories throughout.
Fear,
Yeah,
pure fear. I had never promoted a wrestling show before,
Right.
and I didn't know how it was going to go. So, it was pure fear from minute one to leaving the building.
nice.
But it all worked out.
Excellent.
Thank goodness.
Andy Miller wants to know, what made you fall in love with pro wrestling?
Well, Andy, that's a very good question. I started, before wrestling, I was involved in professional theater.
Yes.
I did publicity for Broadway shows and shows on tour. I created and produced different theatrical productions. And there are a lot of similarities between the two things because you're promoting a live event
Right.
in both cases. And, the process of selling tickets and publicity and that sort of thing, advertising, all these things I learned about in the theater world, and those things carried over to pro wrestling, which is why I thought I had something to offer that when I started.
Right.
And so, I had a good foundation going in. The wrestling part took, several years before I really kind of got it and
Right.
got into the groove of it. But, when I look back on especially those early days, there were a lot of unique things that happened in the early days of NECW. A lot of unique talent that came through. We had some pretty unique deals. We had a sponsorship deal with Budweiser that was pretty
Nice.
unique for the time. So, I was very, very fortunate in a lot of ways.
Excellent. All right, Andy also has a couple follow-ups. Who are your all-time favorite wrestlers? I'm thinking as a fan,
Okay.
not as a promoter.
Right. As a fan, all-time favorites, Bruno Sammartino,
Yeah.
the Funks,
Yeah.
both Terry and Dory. Spiros Arion was
Yeah.
a great one that I was reminded
Golden
of.
Greek.
The Golden Greek, both heel and face.
Yep.
And I remember sitting in the stands of the old Boston Garden and how the Greek people would come to see Spiros Arion. And they
Really?
whether he was a heel or a face, they were right in his corner,
Nice.
no matter what. Oh, gosh. Who else? Wow. Talk about NWA, you got to talk about Dusty Rhodes.
Right.
Got to talk about the Briscoes, Jerry Lawler. I was a big mark from Memphis.
Mine too. That's my
Yeah.
favorite promotion.
Yeah.
And Jerry Lawler's my favorite wrestler.
And, of course, World Class.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was fantastic.
Yep.
Okay. And his last question is, what are your thoughts on pro wrestling today? Great question, Andy.
A very great question. It's a changed business in a lot of ways. I miss promoting wrestling, but in a way, I think, it's a young man's game.
Right.
When a couple of years ago, I had a situation where my kidneys failed, and I was in a hospital for a month, and now I'm still on kidney dialysis until I get a kidney transplant. So, I don't have the stamina to be promoting anymore. And I see, in a way, the guys coming up right now are so lucky because the atmosphere for independent wrestling has changed. When I started promoting in 2000, it was a fight to get people to acknowledge that it was something that they should come and see. People thought, well, this is just like amateur night stuff, But we had to work hard to get publicity. We had to work hard to get people in the building. Now it's so much easier because people know what independent wrestling is. It has an air of legitimacy that it didn't have 24, 25 years ago.
True.
So it's definitely easier now.
And there's a lot more money in wrestling, it seems, too.
That's right. And it takes a lot more money to promote.
Yes. Okay. Now, Brian Westcott, we corresponded through email and phone calls before finally meeting each other in person at the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion.
Good guy.
One of my favorite people. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Brian?
Brian is a historian and just a really, really good kid who's, been around wrestling for a long time. And
where's he from?
He's from, I want to say he's from Iowa.
Okay.
Maybe somewhere around there. Nice kid.
Nice. I've always wanted to go to the Cauliflower Alley.
You should.
I'm definitely going.
Yeah.
Mike Zamzow. Firstly, congratulations on your success in promoting pro wrestling shows and on writing your books. My question is, would you consider promoting an NECW or WWW show again in the near future? Even if it's just a one-time thing or an anniversary type event? Or are you done with promoting altogether?
Well, a lot of it has to do with my health.
Right.
I recently, at the beginning of November, did a video presentation called New England Championship Wrestling, The Lost Matches Live, which we took a group of matches that either were unreleased or are not available online and showed them in a theater in front of a live audience. Unfortunately, it was a very small live audience,
but it was
a live audience nonetheless.
Right.
And I may take I will take another stab at that and hopefully promote it a little smarter.
You invited me to that too, and
I did.
Actually, I couldn't go. I had to work, but
Well, you have an open invitation to the next one.
Well, thank you. I'll definitely make it.
Yeah.
Mike's a great guy too.
Good.
Great fan.
Mike, I hope to meet you and shake your hand, and thank you for being a fan.
Yeah, he's incredible. Joe Bruin, top 5 NECW stars in Sheldon's opinion in the history of NECW. Now that's a lot to cover.
That's a lot to cover because we have a long history.
Yeah.
Alex Arion, DC Dillinger, Eddie Edwards, the Crown Jewels tag team.
Love it.
I'm going to leave somebody out and tick somebody off, probably. But we had so many great, international stars, Doug Williams, Sumi Sakai, who just retired this past weekend.
Yep. Oh, this past weekend.
Okay,
because I had read she was retiring.
Saturday night at the New Japan show in San Diego.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So Maverick Wild, guy that used to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a favorite venue you ran? Where was it? And why was it your favorite?
Very fond of the Quincy Armory. It had kind of a unique atmosphere. It had like a wrestling atmosphere.
Right.
I had seen shows promoted by other people before I got involved in running there. And it always had that just the way the lights were, and it just, had that aura for pro wrestling. There's the, I didn't run it myself. Steve Bradley ran it. What's that place way up there in,
Litchfield?
Littleton.
Yeah, the Opera House.
The Opera House, yeah. One of the great pro wrestling venues ever in New England. I never had the chance to run it as a promoter.
Right.
But I was involved in some of Steve's shows that ran there, and what a tremendous venue. Wow.
I want to go back just a minute, because when you ran that when you did the show for the lost matches,
Right.
you did that at the Peabody Black Box?
Yes, sir.
Which
With the
I've never
great
been,
assistance
but-
of my good and dear friend Todd Graham.
Good
Proving
friend of the
Ground.
show.
Go support Proving Ground. Props to Todd Graham. Great kid, great promoter,
Yep.
very talented kid. So sending some love his way.
Absolutely. One of my favorite people in New England independent
Okay.
wrestling. That's a fact.
Yep.
All right. Mav has a couple follow-ups. You have a background in theater. You actually already answered this question about the similarities between
Yeah.
theater and wrestling. Mav's last question is, when you were in the game, you were the foremost promoter in New England in terms of bringing talent in from abroad. Do you have one fly-in that exceeds expectations? And conversely, is there one you could have done without?
I wouldn't say there's anyone I could have done without. I think they were all great.
Right.
I was, as I say, I was very, very fortunate. The obvious standouts being Doug Williams and Sumi Sakai.
Yep.
We had her for one show, but the artist formerly known as Rebecca Knox, now
Yes.
known as Becky Lynch, had her first American match in NECW. Believe that or not, that's pretty crazy when
That
you think
is.
about that. Yeah. And she was like,
Right.
I remember Dave Prazak of Shimmer reaching out to me after she worked for us. You think I should book this girl? I don't know. Dude, don't hesitate.
Right.
Don't hesitate. She's the real deal.
Yeah, she is.
Very happy for all of her success.
Now, I remember going to your shows that you really had some great tag teams. You know, you had the Canadian Superstars, the Crown Jewels, wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge tag team guy. But, like, I'm glad you mentioned the Crown Jewels because, in my opinion, Damon Doc Angelo is one of the greatest tag team wrestlers I've ever seen.
And a great singles wrestler.
Oh,
too. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So to the next question. Joe Bruin is back. What are some good Tony Rumble stories that maybe we haven't heard before from your own personal experiences with Tony?
Wow. You know, Tony Rumble was a guy that I just loved hanging around with.
Right.
He was like the brother I never had. And he was that way for a lot of people. I wasn't the only
Right.
one. But I'll never forget that we were on our way down to Connecticut for a show at, he had a cousin that had a Toyota dealership in W-Town, Waterbury, I think.
Connecticut, yeah.
Yeah. And so we always used to stop at this place along the way called Rhines Deli. Now, I'm a sucker for a good Jewish deli. Anybody that's been around me any length of time knows that.
Right.
And
Those
Tony
are the
absolutely
best delis anyways.
and Tony
They are.
loved that place.
Right.
Absolutely loved that place. So the two of us are in there, and there's this guy at the counter, and he's looking over at us, and he's chatting with one of the guys that works there, and blah blah blah. And we're eating our lunch and whatever, and he looks over, and Rumble goes, "Hey, brother, come on over, say hello." It was Peter Wolf.
Wow.
They knew each other. Tony used to be a bouncer at the Channel nightclub.
Right.
And they knew each other from then.
Wow.
And they were friends. So you never knew who you were going to run into with Tony Rumble, wrestling or otherwise.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Former Boston DJ, too.
Yeah.
Peter Wolf.
yeah.
All right, J.P. Griffin, this is my favorite question that was asked. What did DC mean to you, the company, and the region?
Greatest heel ever in New England wrestling history. Arguably greatest champion in NECW history. The time that we had merged with PWF,
Right.
there were only three guys I wanted to bring in. DC Dillinger, Eddie Edwards, Alex Arion.
Right.
Those three. That was it. And he was the linchpin. He was the one that really took the deal to new heights.
Right.
You know, it takes a good heel to really kind of light the fire. And he was the guy,
Yeah.
you know.
He definitely was the greatest heel New England's ever seen.
And nobody gave
Honestly.
him a chance until NECW really put a title on him and really gave him that top spot.
Him as the greatest heel and Alex Arion, probably the best talent to ever come out of New England.
All around,
You know
yeah.
what I mean, really.
Yeah.
Okay. Good friend of yours and mine, Jerry Lane.
Yes, Jerry Lane.
Who is the one person whom you've admired the most or who has influenced you the most as a member of the Cauliflower Alley Club?
Wow. I'd have to say right away, Lou Thez.
Nice.
When I got on the board of directors of the I used to be on the board of directors. When I was on the board of directors of the Cauliflower Alley Club, Archie Moore was the president, boxer.
Right.
And he was stepping down, and Lou Thez was taking his place.
Wow.
Lou Thez was one of those guys that when he walked into a room, you knew you were in the presence of someone special. Right. Lou was a guy who had started wrestling in the 30s, 1930s,
right.
all the way till like 1980s something.
Yeah.
Guy had a 50 plus year career. I mean, crazy. He knew everybody.
Yeah.
You know, his book, Hooker, by the way, very good get. If you ever get a chance to see that book. I haven't read it yet. Yeah, because he had that view from the top, from the days of like Frank Gotch and Strangler Lewis to Hulk Hogan and, Masa Chono, his last match. Yeah, so, yeah. And he was very generous with his time and with his knowledge and didn't mind swapping stories.
And his wife was Charlie?
Charlie Thez.
Charlie, yeah. I've read some things about her where she helped actually guys in wrestling, like get to know Lou and all that.
Yeah.
So
Charlie's really, really terrific woman.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to change from wrestling right now to your books. You wrote 2 books.
Yes.
The first one was
The Last Fall.
The Last Fall, and then After the Bell.
Right, which is a sequel to The Last Fall.
So, where did you get your inspiration for the book?
Yes,
yeah, please.
Let
me see one. I'll open one up for you.
All right, yeah.
Should have had these up already, guys. I'm a real professional.
Hey, no worries. There we go. There you go. Let me answer that question by stepping back for just a little bit. When my kidneys failed and I was in the hospital, I was in Mass General for just over a month. Wow. And I said to myself, what is the future going to hold for me? Do I even have a future?
Right.
You know, I knew that I didn't know exactly what dialysis was going to mean in terms of my overall health and well-being. I feel good, generally speaking. I feel really good. The only thing is that it can make you tired.
Right.
So I knew I wasn't going to have the stamina to do, regular live events or anything like that. But I had to figure out what it is that I could do and then do that. I always wanted to write a book. I have lots and lots of friends that have written books. My friend, my great and dear friend, the late, great Howard Brody, wrote 2 books.
Right.
One, he collaborated with Dusty Rhodes on his autobiography, Reflections of an American Dream. And the other was a book called Swimming with Piranhas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is all about his experiences as a promoter and so forth. Excellent book, worth checking out. But he always bugged me, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. You got to write a book. So now I'm in this hospital bed, and I'm thinking I got to maybe change my thinking about what it is that I'm going to do. And I'd always wanted to write a book, so I decided after I, got back on my feet and got my legs under me that I would take it on, and out came The Last Fall.
Excellent. Now, what was your process for writing?
Okay. I was actually writing a different book before this came along.
Really?
Yeah, I was writing a different story. And then I just got the idea for this, and it came to me, and I saw the whole thing in front of me.
Wow.
And I just sat down, and in 3 weeks it was written. Wow. Yeah, crazy as that sounds.
I talked to Knuckles Nelson, and he said he just kept writing in notebooks. He said he had like 60 notebooks by the time he was done.
Yeah. Now, I don't use notebooks. I bought a little Chromebook.
Okay.
And used that to write the book
Nice.
on. And that worked out really well. But yeah, so, you got to do it when the mood strikes you. Sometimes, you just can't stop, and sometimes you got to think and whatnot.
Absolutely. Were there any challenge you faced while writing the story?
None.
Good.
None.
They came
Crazy
right
as
to
that
you, huh?
sounds, it's almost like surreal.
Right.
Like, yeah, there might be little things. How do I say this or say that?
Right.
Or what do I, but generally speaking, no, it just kind of poured out of me.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to aspiring writers?
Write from your heart. Write what matters to you. The best books are the books that have the most love behind them.
Right.
These two books are kind of a love letter to pro wrestling.
Nice.
And I enjoyed the hell out of writing them both. I really, really did. And
That's
what was
awesome.
even more important, Leo, was that when the first book came out, it was so fondly embraced by people.
Right.
You have no idea what that meant to me.
Right.
You know, when you promote wrestling or when you produce plays, you know, you might be the person behind it, but it's other people that are the expression of
Right.
what it is that you're putting together. With a book, that's not the case. It's just you.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. So it gave me a chance to show people another aspect of, you know, what I could do, and the fact that they embraced it so warmly was really, it saved my life in a lot of ways. Really.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you planning on writing any more books?
Yes, I've got a third book
Nice.
in the works right now that I am writing right
Excellent.
now. It's a spin-off of this book,
Okay.
After the Bell. It's called A Mad Dog's Tale,
Nice.
Tale.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to putting that out probably by the end of this year. So,
That's awesome, Sheldon. Great. Something to really look forward to.
yeah.
What scene or chapter are you most proud of, and why?
Ooh.
That's got to be a tough question.
That's a tough question, because that's like asking you which child do you like the
I mean,
most.
if you had multiple, too, I mean, you know, you can always.
Right. The last fall will always have a special fondness to me, because A, it just poured out of me,
Right.
and B, it was so fondly embraced by people. It almost took me aback, really.
Wow.
Really, you know, it was kind of a surprise. I mean, I thought it was a good book.
Yeah.
But you know, you write a book, you don't know whether you're going to sell 5 copies or
Exactly.
5,000 copies. You have no idea.
Right.
And the fact that people liked it so much was just a heartwarming thing, and something I won't ever forget.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you paid attention to the young talent that's in New England right now?
Yeah, I get a chance to go to a few shows every now and
Yeah.
then.
There's some really, I mean, I'm not to knock any other era of the independence, but right
Right.
now, I mean, there's a lot of special talent. Guys like Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, Alec Price, and there's more. I mean, you know,
yeah.
I could sit here and rattle off a million names. Sammy
Right.
Diaz, BRG, Shannon Thomas, you know,
Yeah.
Anthony Green. There's just so much talent.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what you could do if you were to promote a show like let's say the Iron 8.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I could pick 8 guys right now that I feel would be incredible.
Yeah, that
How
would be great.
proud of you? How proud of the Iron 8 are you? Because I
Very.
mean, that was a phenomenal tournament.
Very. And you know, it was funny, how it developed was kind of an interesting story. At one time, Kevin Kelly was a booker for NECW. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
He was the booker for NECW at one point.
Wow.
And for our 4th anniversary show, Kevin had booked a main event that was a 4-way, 45-minute Iron Man match with Maverick Wild, who was the champion, Antonio Thomas, Alex Arion, Bob Evans.
Wow.
Those were the 4 people in that main event. The match itself got over so well that I started to think to myself, you know, this could be the culmination of a tournament that could become a signature event for us.
Right. Like
I
the
wanted to have
Super
it-
8.
Yeah, like Super 8, but different from the Super
Right.
8. But like something that would be a signature event that you would associate with NECW. And that's how it developed.
Nice.
So, and the first year we did it as a 2-night event, and that really didn't work.
Okay.
But by the time we did the PWF merger, and it was 2005 or 6, that's when we did it as a 1-night event, and that's really when it all clicked
Right.
and came into its own.
And who won the 1-night event? Was that Eddie?
The 1-night event was, I want to say it was Oh gosh, I can see his face. This is what happens when
Not
you get
Ryan
old.
Bisbal.
No, not Ryan Bisbal. That was way before Ryan Bisbal.
Okay.
I'll think of it. Sorry,
That's all right. I got to tell you, my favorite show that I went to of yours was the night Santa Claus was there.
Okay.
And I remember when he came out at the end, I was selling my merchandise and I told the kid, watch the table, I got to see who this is. Because the person came over and he picked up my Missy Hyatt book and said, I haven't seen her since the Pillman Memorial Show. What a ho, ho, ho. Gave me some candy canes. So I was like, as soon as he took it off, I knew who it was immediately. I was flipping out.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That mofo, Steve Bradley.
Yeah.
And now that match was Alex Arion
Yeah.
and Slick.
No. Alex Arion and Maverick.
Yes, that's
It's the first
right. You're
blood
right.
match.
Yep. And Beth Phoenix made her NECW debut that night
No, she
too,
had
right?
made her debut before that.
Oh, okay.
But she had appeared on that show, yeah.
Great. Now,
Isn't it crazy how
Yeah.
you know, you rattle off things that happened at particular shows.
Right.
Oh, there was Beth Phoenix over there.
Yeah.
Future WWE Women's Champion, Hall of Famer.
yeah, one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time, in my opinion.
Great person as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Great
Okay.
girl.
Well, I think we should jump into the name game a little bit. Then we'll go back and forth here.
All right, that's cool.
I grabbed some names that I'm a fan of from the Wikipedia of your alumni. So
All
it's
right.
all people that have worked for you.
Okay.
And the first name is, I met Devin Storm in Lowell in a restaurant, and I asked him about this guy, and he told me, I can't wait to tell him that you asked about him. Ace Darling, who has a great little podcast going
Yeah.
right
Oh,
now.
really? I haven't heard this podcast.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Ace was the guy that Ace and Devin Storm
Right.
wrestled for Tony Rumble.
Yep.
That's how I knew them. Great talent. Great guy.
Yeah.
Nice kid. Yeah.
Excellent. Now here's a TNA superstar, Alexis.
Ah.
Now, was she Alexis Nevaeh when she
No,
was
she was Lexus when she first started.
right, that's right.
Funny story about that. One day, I go to my post office box, and there's this big manila envelope marked special delivery from a law firm in Washington, D.C., representing the Toyota Motor Corporation. You cannot have somebody called Lexus because it infringes on our trademark.
Wow.
How they can confuse a little girl wrestler with a luxury automobile is still a mystery to me, but they threatened to sue the pants off of me and everybody else, and so she had to change her name. That's how she became Alexis Nevaeh.
Wow.
Yes.
She's a great talent, too.
Anybody that tells you that NECW wasn't over,
Right.
if I tell you that Toyota Motor Corporation threatened to sue me over a girl's name,
That's crazy.
that was the second time something like that happened. The
What was
first
the
time
first
was
time?
Tarzan Tyler.
Yes.
I got
Now-
I get this funny. I get this email from this woman, allegedly a fan, saying, "Oh, my son is really a big Tarzan. Where can he get his merchandise? Where can he get his? What is this? A rib?
Right.
It must be like a relative trying to get him over on me. But no, it was somebody who worked for the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate.
Wow.
Edgar Rice Burroughs, of course, was the author of Tarzan.
That's wild.
What was crazy was because, there's been Tarzans in wrestling since time immemorial.
Right.
And Killer Kowalski was originally Tarzan Kowalski.
was he really?
Yeah. Tarzan Tyler.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's the first one I ever did.
Yeah. So, so that went away. But,
I was on Tarzan and Julian's podcast before.
yeah.
That was pretty good. I
was
like
good.
their little podcast
Yeah,
they had.
yeah.
They did a really good job.
Yeah, they had me on once, too.
Did they?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Apocalypse, who's not the same type of guy that he was probably when you booked him. But he'll tell you himself, he was not very nice to people back in the day. But
I
I
always
think
got
he's
along with
changed.
Mike, and I liked Mike.
I mean, I like Mike a lot too. I really do. Congratulations on the pizza sub shop that he just
Yes.
opened. Mike's
luck
a
with that,
really
Mike.
good guy.
Yeah.
And he that's why the reason why I said the way I did, because he's told me that personally, that he's not the same person. Because Mike used to scare the crap out of me. Okay.
But in wrestling, you need guys like that.
Oh, you absolutely
Yeah.
do. Absolutely. April Hunter, who you don't really hear of wrestling around here, at least anymore.
No, she's not. I don't think she's wrestling anymore. April was one of those people. She, got involved in wrestling through WCW. She was an NWO girl or whatever. I don't think she was really such a great wrestler per se, but she had a talent for getting herself over in places, and
she looked good.
She looked good. Yeah. She worked all over the place.
Right.
So you have to give her props for that.
And she actually became good friends with one of my best friends, Sean Wiggins, Ref Hansen from Jersey All Pro and Ring of Honor. All right, you brought him up earlier, Antonio Thomas. So good.
Yeah. I wanted to push him to the top of NECW just before he got signed.
Right.
And when I found out that he got signed, and that was the end of that plan.
Right.
But he came back later and did a lot of good stuff for us. Very talented kid.
And he's training guys now at the Beyond Wrestling School along with Brian Malonis.
Okay.
So that's really good. They still give him back.
Yeah.
All right. I said Beth Phoenix. I love this guy. And they say he's really stiff in the ring. Bobby Ocean.
I never heard that. I would have liked more time with Bobby than we had.
Right.
I think he was going through something where he had just work commitments or something else where he wasn't able. But no, I have very positive thoughts about Bobby Ocean. He was a good talent.
Yeah. I enjoyed watching Bobby wrestle a lot. Here's a guy that I know you made him the champ, if I'm not mistaken, or he might have won the first Iron 8. No, he didn't. Brad Hollister.
He didn't win the first one. He won the 2014, which was one of the great Iron 8s of all time.
Right.
Yeah. Brad, great talent. Great kid. I'm surprised that he hasn't gone further.
Well, I'll tell you, I saw him maybe 3-4 months ago at a Beyond Wrestling show. And I was with my friend Dave, and after watching his match, I literally turned to my friend Dave and said, I have no idea why he's still around here.
Yeah.
He literally was the best wrestler on that show. And Beyond puts on pretty good shows with pretty good wrestlers. And he absolutely was the best wrestler on the show. And I'm shocked that he's not signed.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
And another guy who's really good, he left, came back, and now I think he's back for quite a bit. The real deal, Brandon Locke.
I always liked Brandon. I thought that his run in NECW was kind of unfortunate.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is that we had an issue with Max Bauer.
Okay.
And we put the title on Brandon kind of in a hurry.
Okay.
And I think that it wasn't well thought out booking wise. I don't think we got the most out of him booking wise that we could have. But he was our champion when we had the run with Comcast On Demand and all that, and he made a good accounting of himself. He's always a good athlete. Nice to see that he's still. And
he does the bodybuilding and stuff sometimes too. I mean,
yeah.
I had him here a couple of months ago. What a guest! He really was fantastic, and I had never really met him. Great guy. Here's a couple of names. They're partners. They're married, and they have a lot of children. BMT and Ariel. The Monarchy in Chaotic Wrestling.
The Monarchy in Chaotic Wrestling. Wow. Ariel, you got to give her so much.
Yeah.
This girl's wrestled all over the world.
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah.
She's. You look at her resume. She managed the Christopher Street Connection
in Ring of Honor. I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you about the Christopher Street Connection in a moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but no, she was really, really terrific. And
she was young when she wrestled for Ring of Honor too. I mean, she couldn't have even been 20 years old, honestly.
Right.
The first night I saw her, the Carnage crew, Spike pile drived her. And I mean, I literally thought, and I know what wrestling's about. I literally thought they killed her.
Wow.
It looked so good.
Wow.
But BMT.
Good talent.
Is really good too.
I'm so happy for the two of them.
Yeah. Right.
That they found each other, that they have a great marriage, that they have all those kids who are their own cheering section that goes from one show to the next. I think it's terrific.
Well, the kids are involved in wrestling at Rad Pro Wrestling.
Really?
Yeah, all of them, the whole family. It's
pretty
gracious.
It is cool.
They're doing, Scott's doing great things with Rad Pro Wrestling. All right, here's a guy who's not really from around here, but I like him. Danny DeManto.
I think Danny wrestled for us maybe once or
Right.
twice. Yeah, yeah. Didn't have enough time with him to really kind of form, what could have been done. But I'm glad that he's been promoting and been successful and all
He's
that.
doing really good with the
Yeah.
ICW No Holds Barred. I actually went to the show they had where Homicide had his last match in New England, and that show was incredible. Have you familiar with Atticus Koga?
No.
He's a real independent guy from the Midwest. He's incredible. But you said,
But wait, I gotta get back to that Christopher Street connection.
yes,
story.
that's what I was just going to ask you to do.
So, at this time, I was a big one for getting NECW in the newspapers,
Right.
and getting publicity. What would elevate our presence? So I wanted to bring the Christopher Street connection in as baby faces,
Right.
and Bob Evans threw a fit.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't want any part of that. Thought it was horrible. Hated it. Didn't like
Was
the
it because of how far they took the gimmick? Is
I
that
think
why?
so. I think so.
'cause they took that very far.
Very far. Yeah.
They were not
Yeah.
gay,
Yeah. Right.
but
right,
they were
right,
kissing
Right.
like
Right.
a married couple
Yeah.
kisses.
Right.
you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
But they were very talented.
Very talented. Yeah. I thought that would have really. What I wanted to do is promote that to the gay community.
Right.
Thing that traditionally in pro wrestling prior to that, a gay or effeminate wrestler was considered a heel.
Right.
It was hated by people.
Right.
I wanted to portray them as baby faces, as the heroes.
Yep.
And I thought that would have gotten a lot of publicity for us, and it would have, been an attraction.
Right.
We kind of later sort of did the same thing with the Crown Jewels, whereas they were heels all the way, but people cheered them. They were,
Right. They
an
were
act that
known
got
in the
over.
area already. Right.
Right.
All right. But you actually ended up in the newspaper by promoting the hot dog safaris.
Oh, we ended up. No independent promotion in New England ever got as much publicity in the newspapers as NECW.
No doubt.
When newspapers were a thing.
Right.
When we
I used
were
to buy
doing-
2 newspapers every day. Now I don't buy any.
When we were doing World Women's Wrestling, we had a huge feature on World Women's Wrestling in the Globe.
Right.
So, we had a couple of front pages in the Herald. I mean,
That's
we
what
had
I was
lots
thinking.
and-
That's
lots
what
and
I
lots of
remember, the
stuff.
Herald
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the Globe.
Yeah.
Excellent. How about he was part of why don't we just go with Wreaking Havoc, Don Vega and Jose Perez.
It's funny, their match against the Crown Jewels where they won the titles is part of the lost matches thing that we did. And they were really, really good. Really, 2 guys who really, that against the Crown Jewels, that was a terrific feud, terrific matchup. Yeah.
And good.
They were really top notch.
I will say this: I ran into an issue with someone in wrestling, and I needed some advice. So I picked somebody at the time that I really had a lot of respect for, and asked him if I could call him, and it was Jose Perez. And I mean, I ended up doing what I felt anyways, but I just felt like I needed to ask somebody. And he's just a class act. The whole family is a class act. All right, let's move on. This guy's doing really good things in NXT, and he ain't in the ring. George Carroll.
George's dream was always to work for WWE or whether, he deserves his success.
Yeah.
And God bless him.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so how about manager Sean Gorman? Might as well stick with this little group here.
MVP of NECW of all time.
Really?
Of all time. Yeah.
I'll tell you, him in DC, like I said, when they would just come out, and Eddie too, but Eddie was always quiet anyways, in a way.
They were really they encompassed everything, that trio.
Yeah.
Gorman was a great mouthpiece.
Yep.
Another guy that you love to hate.
Yeah.
DC had that deliberate style,
Yep.
Eddie was the wrestling, he was the technician.
Former world champion.
Yeah, multi-time world champion in multiple companies.
Right.
They were the total package.
Nice.
They were really the greatest.
All right. How about a 3rd-generation wrestler, Fred Curry Jr.?
Boy, Fred was great, and he could have been greater if he kind of stuck with it. I think he kind of got discouraged. But I'm really fond of the Currys. His younger brother Nick wrestled for us too. Nick
Very
had a lot of
talented.
potential. Yeah,
I haven't seen him I don't know if he's since the COVID at least. I haven't seen him.
No, he hasn't been wrestling. I think
a shame.
again another one who kind of got discouraged by the business and needlessly so.
And their grandfather scared a lot of people, I would imagine. Bull Curry.
Oh my God, yeah. I remember seeing Bull Curry when I was like 8 years old and I pissed my pants.
I believe it.
Literally.
I believe it.
Yeah.
All right, this guy's starting a podcast. He worked for ECW for years. I know I don't know if he only did one show or multiple shows with you, but Jason Knight, the sexiest man alive.
He did multiple shows for me. Yeah, really good guy, Jason.
Yeah.
A real pro, old school.
So he's starting a podcast, I guess, too.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah.
You already talked about
He's
Jason.
another guy that kind of really helped in the beginning of NECW give the company some credibility. Him and Joel Gertner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. That was the next name, so we're good with that.
Okay.
Yeah. He didn't wrestle as the WWE name I think he wrestled as Handsome Johnny Hayes.
Yeah, Handsome Johnny, then Handsome Johnny Hayes.
Yeah, and
we gave him a last name.
Did he do the British thing with you too?
No.
Was that Don Chesterfield?
Yes. Right.
I've always been a big fan of Todd.
Right.
Big fan.
He's wow.
Yeah.
Here's a kid who suffered some pretty tough injuries.
Yeah.
And came back from them.
Yep.
God bless him. And for him to come back from he had a broken back at one point in two places.
Yep.
To come back from that and then to achieve what he's achieved, you gotta tip your hat to him.
Definitely.
And not only that, but he always brought his A game. He always represented well.
Right.
And always was a guy that you could count on for a good match and to be a good locker room citizen, so to speak.
Right.
So so he was terrific.
I've always said about Todd that so many lesser men would have quit. And that's why he's my favorite local guy that made it to the WWE. I was more happy for him than anyone else because I knew what he had dealt with.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that statement.
And
Absolutely.
my girlfriend's cousin was his teacher in high school.
Oh, wow.
And she told me the story when she asked the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she found out I loved wrestling and she asked about him. And I said, he's an incredible wrestler. And then when he got signed to the WWE, I started sending her all these, all the videos and stuff.
My favorite Handsome Johnny story is we did the hot dog safari one year, and they wanted to do the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And he was always like conscious of his weight, trying to be on a strict diet and whatever. So when they said we want a couple of wrestlers to be in this hot dog eating contest, not only did he volunteer to be in it, he won it.
Did he really?
He won it, yeah.
Nice.
Crazy.
Yeah. And just not that long ago, he got hurt again, his neck. And he's back, and they put the belts on them.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. What a story.
What a story with him and Raven.
Yeah.
They beat the crap out of each other in the top prospect tournament, which Todd won. And then they were in the back, and one of them said to the other one, we should just team up and beat the crap out of everybody. And look at them. They traveled the world together.
Absolutely.
And Ray Monroe almost died in a momotorcycle accident.
Yeah, they're the greatest tag team of this generation.
I agree.
Yeah, bar none.
I really do. I agree. All right, here's another real good guy, good wrestler, and he's a musician too, Johnny Idol.
Johnny Idol was great. I miss Johnny Idol. Just being around Johnny Idol was fun.
He is a great guy.
Yeah, good person.
That him and Sonny were supposed to come on months ago, and we actually just set up another date. I think they're coming in at the end of this month.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. Sonny Goodspeed, I guess he was your booker before,
yes,
too.
Yes, he was. Yep.
Was he the booker the night Bradley was there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Julian Starr, a guy that well, I'm sure he's still talented, but he was very talented, Julian.
He was very talented. Yep. He was a little full of himself, I think, at the time.
Right.
That we were working with him. But you know, I never had. There weren't too many people I ever really had a problem with.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
you count them on the fingers of one hand with fingers left over.
Right.
You know,
I know one of them, but I don't know if we'll bring it up. But I think you actually made up with them. You brought him up earlier, Bob Evans.
never made up with him.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
thought
he
you
thinks I did.
Oh, okay. So that's
No,
why.
no.
Okay. All right. All right. How about a guy that's never really gets mentioned on here very often, K.L. Murphy?
Wow, another one who didn't stick with it.
Right.
I think if he had the desire and really stuck with it, he could have done something. It's funny, you see a lot of guys who are lighter weight guys who now could really do something, whereas
Yeah.
back then it was a different world.
Yep.
So he was one of those guys that I think if you were around now, could have achieved a lot more success than what he had.
Okay. Excellent. Pat Piper.
Love Pat Piper.
He was always very entertaining.
Very
man.
entertaining. Yep.
Very
Yep.
entertaining. With the
Yep.
great Roddy Piper impersonation, kind of. Now, didn't Roddy and him do something together?
In WWF, yes.
Yeah.
He was his illegitimate son, of all things.
Yeah.
You know, Pat was great, you know. But, you know, Pat always wanted to do something else.
Right.
And we didn't want him to do anything else. But I remember one time he sends me a picture of him as the Joker.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, I want to do this gimmick. I want to be Joker. I says, Pat, do you realize that DC Comics would sue me into oblivion
Be another
if we did that? Yeah. What can you say?
Right. How about a big guy, Big Rick Fuller,
Loved Rick Fuller.
who's, I don't want to hope he doesn't get mad when me saying this, is a sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah.
He really is.
I don't think he'd be angry with that.
He really treated my youngest daughter, Sarah, like she was so special whenever we seen him at a MWF show.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of MWF, Dan Maratti.
Not a fan.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. I know. Ron Zombie.
Great guy. Somebody I wish I did so much more with.
Right.
Yeah. Loved Ron. Just one of the best guys in New England.
Trying to get him on here. It's a long ride for him, so I'm hoping eventually I
Ron,
can get
make
him
the
up
ride.
there.
Make the trip.
Please, Ron.
Yeah.
All right, how about the Logan brothers? Matt, Brian, and Nick.
Yeah, they were injury prone, as I remember. You know, they had a good run. They were tag champs for us at one point in time, but I remember the issue with them was that they were always getting injured.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were a great team. And I don't know if you know this, but might as well tell you, Nick is doing great things in the amateur wrestling thing. With he has this thing, Doughboy Wrestling, and he
Okay.
is also one of the head coaches of Lowell High Wrestling
Wow.
with the legendary George Bossy.
Wow.
And he was a legend in high school wrestling.
Interesting.
Yeah. Malaya Hosaka.
Great veteran. I saw her this past summer
Really?
at Cauliflower Alley.
Nice.
Yeah.
One of the best women's match I've ever seen was her and Luna Vachon in Nashua, right here in Nashua.
Wow.
For Jeff. It was unbelievable. The match was they wrestled all around. They were barely in the ring. But the match, like literally, was phenomenal. Luna, in my opinion, was absolutely beautiful. People were scared of her, but I mean, I thought she was a beautiful woman. Little crazy looking.
Yeah. I remember meeting her at WrestleMania 14.
Wow.
I was one of the Undertaker's druids. Me and
that's
Tony
cool.
Rumble's crew. We were all the Undertaker's druids with the hoods and the flaming torches and all that. And I remember chatting her up backstage, and what a sweetheart she was.
Yeah. She was.
Just a really sweet woman.
Very talented in the ring, too. All right, Maverick Wild, who actually has become, honestly, one of my best friends.
Yeah, and he's a great guy. He's the guy we should have done so much more with as NECW champion. I just don't think Bob knew how to book him.
And you know how I had said Alex Arion was, might have been the best talent, which Mav would even say. But I wouldn't put Mav too far behind him. honestly.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
How about Mercedes Martinez?
Another all-time favorite. She was really a prodigy. Really a prodigy. Because
Really?
she was very early in her career when she was working with NECW.
Right.
We had the feud with Sumi Sakai that kind of put them both on the map, her in the U.S. and Mercedes got all that PR in Japan from, Sumi always had the Japanese press.
Right.
Shun Yamaguchi was still a photographer then.
Wow.
He was taking pictures of at all the shows, and
That's
they
wild.
would show up in Gong magazine and so forth. So, the one word to describe Mercedes Martinez: prodigy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. This guy who sat in that chair and was back in wrestling like 100%. He's throwing himself in it 100%. And then a couple weeks later, he left and went back to music. The masshole, Mike McCarthy.
Let me tell you, Mike McCarthy might have been the most popular champion in NECW history.
As Tommy Knoxville?
No, as
Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that was because of our TV.
Right.
I remember seeing Mike for the first time. I had never seen him as Tommy Knoxville.
Okay.
Never seen him as that.
Yeah.
We were doing a show at the Abington High School, and it was his first match for us. And he would do this thing where he says, "Now you're going to see a suplex, SUPLEX," and his gimmick was, spelling things.
Right.
So I said, "Yeah, now we got to put that on tape. We got to.
Right.
That's got to be his thing." So slowly but surely, he started out as a heel, but if you think about it, a masshole in Massachusetts is a babyface.
Exactly. Exactly.
And he just got so over.
Yeah.
And he was selling tons of those shirts and gimmicks and whatnot, and had the skills to back it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I absolutely loved working with him.
Okay. Here's a girl that I met down doing some Ring of Honor and PWU shows, on Pro Wrestling Unplugged shows. Mm-hmm. Missy Sampson. I did not know she worked for you.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Did the Backstreet Boys work for you once?
Yes, once.
Okay.
Yes.
And how'd that go? Okay.
That was good. Yeah. They were good.
Trent was one of my favorite, like when I did the Ring of Honor catering. He just was so awesome.
Yeah.
Johnny Cashman was great too, don't get me wrong. But me and Trent had a little bit more in common. Sorry,
Crazy
Ma.
how like we were talking before, crazy how many people came through NECW that you would not expect.
Right.
Did you know there was a match in NECW between Mark Briscoe versus Jay Briscoe?
No.
Yes, there was.
Wow.
That's going to be in Lost Matches too.
Nice. Now, Jay was probably, Mark was probably, what, 17?
Yeah.
And he wasn't even allowed to wrestle in New Jersey or something. One of the states, because when he came to Mass, he had a match because they didn't have any rules about the age.
Right. His parents were at the show.
Really? Papa
Good time
Briscoe?
Emporium, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Both those guys were super, super guys.
Yeah.
I saw them both at a big time wrestling show. Probably like 8 or 9 months before Jay had passed. Yeah. And that was so
I remember
sad.
the two of them after the show came up. No, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. They had a lot of
Thank you for
respect.
helping Ring of Honor. Yeah. So
Very, very cool.
Yep.
All right. This one right here, and I know you liked her a lot. Nikki Rocks.
Nikki Rocks, great. You can't say enough good things about her in the ring. Outside the ring, we had friction.
Right.
But inside the ring, there was no argument. She was a great talent.
I love the story Brian Fury told me here between him, DC, and her. Like, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. He's a referee now. T.J. Ritka.
Oh, TJ was always good. He was always a good kid.
Yeah.
Always gave you an entertaining match, was an entertaining character in NECW.
He's another guy I'd like to get here.
Yeah.
I really would.
Yeah,
I think he'd make a great guest. Triple-licious.
I always liked him. I always thought, again, he was a kid that always gave you a good match.
Yep. Okay. Taylor Hendricks.
Nice to see that Triple H is still
Yeah, he's still going.
Yeah.
He's still going. He wrestles for Chaotic.
Yeah.
And I think he wrestles for IWA too. He's doing really well. Matt, actually, though, I want to say that a lot of the companies that have been running with big audiences. Like RWA just had a huge show. I saw the picture. I mean, there had to have been over 250 people at the show.
You know, ever since the end of the pandemic,
Yeah.
now all these companies are drawing like crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Chaotic just had a sold-out show in Malden. Same place that Pat Dillon used to run. The Malden Irish American Club.
Yeah,
Yep.
I ran that place a couple of times.
Did you?
Yeah.
So they're doing really well. How about another
Is
female?
it Taylor?
Taylor Hendricks, yes.
Taylor, I always told Taylor that when your work catches up to your looks, you'll be the greatest woman wrestler ever.
She was beautiful.
Absolutely,
probably
beautiful.
still beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
I'm sure she's still beautiful. Yeah, she writes children's books now.
Does she really?
Yeah.
Well, she walked away from wrestling, because there was some, pretty nasty things. I guess was, whatever.
I heard those things.
Yeah, that's a sad thing because
sad
she's
because
very talented and didn't deserve to be treated that way when you're a talent.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be safe.
When she was working for us, we really wanted to, put the belt on her and really get behind her. But she had a match in Ring of Honor here in this area. I want to say it was maybe Plymouth.
Okay.
And she worked against Sarah Del Rey and was just mauled to death in the match. And I said, well, how can we do that? How can we, after that, how can we, and I think that was kind of unfortunate because I think Taylor Hendricks' run as Triple W champion would have been good.
Yeah, she got a lot. She had a lot of talent. She really did.
Getting out of the area was the best thing for her.
Really?
Yeah, working with OVW, and that was great for her. Yeah.
Kofi Kingston.
Another guy I wish we had more time with, but they yanked him out of here before he developed any bad habits.
Not even 2 years.
Not even 2 years. Yeah.
Probably the quickest guy to get signed.
Yeah.
Right? Got to be one of the quickest at least.
Right. They saw that he had the goods, and here, get out of here.
And here's a guy that has come back and has had banger matches at bunch of places over the last couple weeks. Hurricane John Walters / RJ Brewer.
Wow. I like John Walters. He was NECW champ for a while. Didn't think a lot of him as a businessman.
Okay.
He went through a thing where, he kind of didn't think NECW was really anything, and I think he said that our title was a belt that only 50 people knew about, which was kind of baloney.
Yeah, that's baloney.
But I, had a lot of respect for him as a talent. I just think that, he could have gone a lot further if he made wiser choices as a businessman.
When you were running regularly, I'm not going to lie, I'm not saying it because you're sitting there, but you guys were, in my opinion, the #1 company in New England.
I appreciate that.
You really were. And now it's crazy. There's so many great companies. Like you said, Todd Graham, Proving Ground, has literally, incredible. So, guys, you got to get the books, The Last Fall and After the Bell. And you said you're going to be doing a new one.
Yep.
So, Sheldon, thank you very much for coming on.
Always
I appreciate
a pleasure.
it.
We've known each other for many, many years.
Yes,
and,
we have.
I always
You're a good
appreciate
man.
your friendship. Yep.
Thank you. Same here. Guys, we're out. Peace. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe. That's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.